So we'll go ahead and get started now. Thanks for being here. My apologies to those who got kicked out and now are logging back in. Um, and I guess my question for today is how do you handle unexpected circumstances or change, or just when you think everything is going smooth and chaos strikes? Um, how do you handle that? How good are you at adjusting to kind of last minute changes and doing things differently? Um, if you are here for the first time, I always like to start with some sort of question just to give a little time for people to jump on and also just get some people engaged. So that's my question for the moment. Uh, how well do you do dealing with kind of last minute unexpected change? Progress, but definitely not perfection. Absolutely. Yeah, it just popped into my head because, I sat down to hit and go live like I always do, and I guess I didn't turn the screen fast enough, so then it got locked with me sideways on my head. So I pondered doing the class that way because it would have been a nice challenge for everyone, but I decided to be nice and not make you all stare at me sideways. It can be stressful. We get used to our routine, so it's hard to adapt. It's hard to adapt sometimes. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a lot of what I'm kind of talking about is that we build our routines around what's comfortable, and we spend all day long creating that comfortable environment, comfortable routine. And at any moment in time, it just the entire thing can blow up on you. And um, while you're trying to put it back together, I've found over the years that the more focus or stress or attention you give to things that went wrong actually take away from the ability to just function with what is present and move forward. Um, but it's definitely a practice. Anybody else? Yeah, I know we still lost a lot of people, so hopefully they'll find us and jump back on. Anyone else want to share how they deal with unexpected change or disruption to your routine? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the meditation practice, and hopefully other people will just jump back on as we're sitting. So a couple things I'll tell you before we begin, especially if you're sitting for the first time. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is it working? Is it not working? Are you doing it right? Are you doing it wrong? We're just going to sit, we're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside, depending upon where you are. This is life. Life is filled with chaos, and the practice of meditation is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. So, posture, you just want to be comfortable, however you're seated, trying to keep the back straight, shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be on the knees or in the lap, whatever's comfortable. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. I'll say things periodically to just remind you you're lost in thought or wake you up and bring you back to the present moment. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, mouth open or closed, whatever's comfortable. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually settle into a natural rhythm of the breath, knowing throughout the practice you'll hear sounds inside the room, outside. These are not distractions, not disruptions, simply what's happening around us as we sit. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest, and breathing in, feel them rise, breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments of the practice. Simply sitting, breathing. Where's your mind? Lost in thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. Everything beautiful, just as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move, and most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one, and ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize every feel now, if it's quiet and calm and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppat, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means very simply for all of us is things happen every day of our lives and we react. More things happen, more reactions. That's what we get. The practice of meditation is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. And for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your days. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape as often people think it is. It's direct perception into the present moment. And that present moment will often bring great challenges and difficulty. And we practice meditation and explore the Buddhist teachings to learn how to be present in each moment as it arises. And as I started with the question at the beginning of tonight, after all of my technical difficulties, the question of how do we respond in situations where we are disrupted from our normal routine or unexpected occurrences or things just change without us planning on it. And for me, that's where the meditation practice has been so critical because when you sit, whether you're sitting for 5 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour, doesn't matter. What you're practicing is training the mind to be present in this moment and be with things as they are. So for me, that practice has been instrumental in that regardless of what happens throughout my day, I just come back to the breath and say, this is where I'm at now, and move on from there. So it makes handling conflict and difficulties and challenges and struggles and potential frustrations or potential disappointments, it makes them all much easier because you're just learning to be with things as it is. And that's it. So with that, I'll stop. And as always, I prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. There's a chat box there on your screen. You can type in a question or thoughts, and I'd be happy to respond. So I will turn it over to you for questions. Questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you are sitting with at this time. Challenges, difficulties. Making it easy on me. Questions. How do I go about the suffering of those close to me? Um, Yeah, that's a tough one. There's a couple different ways. It's always the challenge of text, but there's a couple different ways to approach this. One, or at least the first two that come to mind, is uh, one is your reaction and how you respond emotionally to those who are suffering around you that are close to you, and how it makes you feel. And the second, I guess, possibility through this scenario is, what do you do for those who are suffering that are close to you? And the reason I bring those up is it really, to me, begins with the first one. And when I look at what the Buddha was teaching, and for me, I understand the teachings first and foremost to be able to take care of the self, to keep your thoughts, your words, your actions filled with kindness and compassion and understanding and forgiveness. And so be very clear and honest and careful with yourself around your emotions when you see those who are close to you suffer. Because if you respond to them coming from a unhealthy place, or a place that lacks compassion, or a place that's coming from anger or frustration, if your response comes from that, then it's probably not going to be too productive or effective. So first is to check in with yourself and to recognize that every human being suffers. We all suffer differently over different things and in different ways. But just like we have suffered, so do those around us. So when others suffer that are close to us, recognize that they have their karma and their path, just like we have ours. But make sure that your heart and your mind are stable and healthy. And then, with regards to potentially the idea that comes up a lot, or the question I should say that comes up a lot, is how do we help those we know who are suffering? And this is somewhat tied to the first question, or part of my first response, which is, there's only so much we can do for those we know and love. And obviously, for small children, then it's a different story. But even working a lot over the years in this, through the Dharma bums and other worlds with parents who raising teenagers, and you can share as much as you want with teenagers, with loved ones, regardless of what age. But they then pick and choose the choices they make. And for the most part, as much as we'd like to think we can, you cannot control what other people do. I've worked in recovery environments, people battling their lives with addiction. And I've worked in that environment for about 25 years. And this is an area where I see so many people watch loved ones, you know, battle and struggle with their addictions, and wanting to help them so much. But again, there's only so much you can do. So the practice really is to open your heart, uh, to let them know you're there for them. You're, a resource, a shoulder to cry on, a handout, whatever you can do to let someone know that you are a safe place of refuge and a person that they can trust. But that doesn't always work. So my suggestion is to go into each situation when someone we know is suffering, again, making sure you're okay, one, two, making yourself available to the other person and letting them know you're there, and three, needing to surrender control, because your life is not their life and their life is not your life. And that's the difficult part. So hopefully that's helpful. And it just sucks when people we know and love hurt. It really does. Do you have any tips for staying accountable to your practice during moments of stress, unexpected change? Yeah, I mean, I think that the I could just cut your question off and say, do you have any tips for staying accountable to your practice? Period. um, and not even add during moments of stress and unexpected change. The idea, and I talk about this a lot, is to stay accountable to your practice. And I'll maybe talk about some tips in a minute, but just in theory, stay accountable to your practice every day, regardless. So I've seen this a lot over the years where people will show up at temple and, they'll be around for 6, 8, 9, 10 months, whatever it is. And, while they go through their struggles and challenges, and all of a sudden things are going well and they disappear. And then 3 months later, things are, crashing and burning again. And I'll see them and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't been here." And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why are you apologizing to me? You're the one struggling. And I remind people that your entire life is going to be filled with ups and downs. So whether you're in a time or period of your life where everything is going wonderful and smooth, still practice meditation, still look at Buddhist teachings, still integrate that into your life, because I guarantee you that the life that might be going smooth and easy will fall at some point in time. This is the Buddhist teachings on impermanence. Everything comes together for a period of time and then ceases to exist. So the good moods we have are there for a period of time and then they will cease to exist. The bad moods we have are there for a period of time and then they will cease to exist. So it's important to understand that whatever you can do to stay accountable to your practice, regardless of the situation. Now, I get it if that here you are in a stressful, unexpected change and you want to stay accountable. A couple things. One, Sangha, which is community. It's the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. We take refuge in that uh, daily. Remind yourself to throw yourself into Sangha, into community. I get it with, the pandemic we're in and people not going to their meditation places or Buddhist places, really. Um, it may be challenging, but there's enough online resources that it's so critical to have a daily practice. And if you need a place to go to, that you have your online resource to go to, even if it's an app, if it's sitting with a group, whatever it might be online. But put a calendar, put a reminder on your calendar on your phone. If you don't have a daily practice, if you get up at 6 a.m., 6:10, 6:20, sit for 5 minutes. Put that calendar reminder on your phone. If you have an evening class that you're used to going to or you sometimes fall away from, put that reminder on your phone. Make sure you're utilizing the communities, the sanghas that are there for you. If you have someone in a sangha you attend or a place that you join meditation, have a accountability buddy. Reach out to someone and say, "Hey, will you check in with me every day and remind me to come to my meditation?" Um, I've found the greatest tips are uh, not so much practical things, but for me, what's driven me so many years to be diligent and not give up the practice is to just constantly remember what dukkha, what suffering feels like, what sadness, what depression, what anger feels like, to constantly remind yourself of that place that you have been in, not to dwell on it, not to focus on it, not to sit there and make yourself miserable over it, but to remind yourself that you've been in a place of extreme dukkha or suffering or discomfort or angst, and you don't want to be there anymore. And when you are in situations that are stressful or unexpected, that's when you do need it the most. Um, so hopefully that's helpful. Uh, look yourself in the mirror every day and just remind yourself that you absolutely need this practice to keep yourself sane and healthy and peaceful. So be honest with yourself. Um, you don't stop brushing your teeth just because you're having a stressful day or week, right? You don't stop combing your hair if you have hair just because you're having a stressful day or a week. So create the habit around sitting and breathing and being with a community. Hopefully that's helpful. Other questions? I've found an amazing personal effect from combining daily meditation and cognitive therapy to deal with anxiety. Have you encountered people with similar experiences? You know, uh, the different approaches and modalities, therapies, meditations that are out there are endless. And, I spent about 8 years in a military environment dealing with active combat folks and veterans as well. But specifically, it was out at Point Loma Naval Base, and it was the Navy's first residential treatment program for uh, active military with PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injuries. And they had 10-week programs, and I would go in every week and do the meditation practice. And so they were dealing with so many different therapies, and they obviously were dealing with tremendous levels of anxiety and stress, depression, you name it. Uh, Not to mention, brain injuries and other things going on. Um, so between that environment and spending about 15 years every week going into prisons, especially psych units in prisons, there's not too many things that I haven't seen, to be honest with you. Um, so the answer to that is yes, I've encountered people with similar experiences. But I think what's important is to find whatever combination works for you. So if you're doing cognitive therapy, um, the CBD, cognitive behavioral therapy, and a meditation practice, or if you are, staring at a wall uh, and doing a meditation practice, or drinking orange juice and doing a meditation practice, or eating Cheerios and doing a meditation practice. I think what's important is finding a combination that works for you. Um, and that's going to be different for every single person, right? We're all so different. So if it's working for you, keep it going. If it's not working for you, then change it, change something. So until you kind of settle into a routine or a practice that is beneficial. You mentioned drawing strength and balance and healing from our communities. The feelings of community are so weak, especially now. Do we have a responsibility to improve our communities? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily agree with the first part, and I don't. Um, I just see a name and I see a tiny little circle. So I don't know if I know you, Melissa. I don't know if you've been to the Dharma Bum Temple or if you're, um, new to the community. But we started 14 years ago to be an incredible place of refuge for anyone who needs it. And since March 12th, we closed because of the pandemic. And love you too, buddy. Um, and we've moved everything online. And I think that and I just speak from personal experience with the Dharma Bum community, I think we've done an incredible job at being and continuing to be a resource for people. Is it the same thing as being in person? Absolutely not. But can we commit ourselves to an online presence and really show up for it the same way we would show up as if we went to a temple? Absolutely, we can. So I don't agree that the communities or the feelings you might feel disconnected from it, um, and you might feel it's weak, and that might just be obviously your personal experience with it. And so if that's the case, then I would encourage you to just put more out there, a greater effort, a greater consistency. Again, I don't know, Melissa, I don't know anything about you. I don't know, and you feel free to type anything you want. I don't know if this is your first time sitting in meditation or joining the Dharma Bum talk, or if you have a meditation group you go to every day, or I don't know where you live, all those things. Um, so I think if we feel that it's weak and that we're not getting much from it, then we need to give more uh, to the practice and to the community. And that really ties into um, the second part of your question was, do we have responsibility to improve our communities? Oh, wait, let me see here. Just to clarify, I meant from communities more generally in the sense of where we live and who is around us on a daily basis. Um, oh, sorry. So, yeah, a little bit different. Um, uh, you mentioned our strength and got it. So now I understand your question. I think kind of the same answer in that I think it really starts with you. And if you feel that the community is weak, then begin to strengthen yourself. And as you strengthen yourself, then you can be a greater pillar for the community. Um, but yes, I was starting to talk about the second part of your question. I think we do have a responsibility to improve our communities. Uh, Absolutely, and I think that we improve our communities, whether we're talking about, the communities we live in, or where I was really coming from a place of, the sangha, the Buddhist community that we sit with. To me, in many ways, you treat them the same, in that we have a responsibility to improve it and to uphold it and to keep it strong and well, and to love the neighbors and take care of them. I think that is a great responsibility for all of us. But regardless of, and this is really what the Buddha taught. It was really about the sangha, the community. So at the time, it was the Buddha and the monks and then the nuns, but it was a group of people living together, taking care of each other and holding each other accountable and practicing. And I see that very similar in our general communities where we live. It's a group of people living. We all, we have the people that we live on the same street with, right? Do we know them? Do we know who they are? Do we understand them, where they're coming from, right? How engaged are we in our community? So, um, but again, I think it really starts with strengthening yourself, and then you'll have the strength to support any community that you're in. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. So I think with that, we're going to close. I know we got a little bit of a late start. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I had us sideways at the beginning, and that would have been not fun. So you're welcome, Melissa. And I think just to add, if someone asks a question like, "Do we have responsibility to improve our communities?" To me, that says it's important to you. And if it's important to you, and you feel that, in your heart and in your mind, that you want to improve your community, then by all means, absolutely do anything you can, because we all can benefit from our communities being improved. So keep up the good fight. All right, so we'll go ahead and join palms as we close. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. So, just a quick announcement. Thanks all for being here. I appreciate it. I'm Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 14 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice. And like I said earlier, we closed in March just to be safe. And we have classes every night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're on YouTube. The rest of the stuff is on Zoom. Saturday, I lead on YouTube as well. We have our college group, our teen group. Recovery Sangha is huge. Morning meditation Monday through Friday. So just check out the website for the schedule. Everything's there on how to join. Um, those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not masters or teachers or gurus. We're just practitioners. So we do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense to those who join us. So I do appreciate you all being here. If I never see you again, really the heart of this practice is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. And if we all do that, then our communities will absolutely improve. So please be safe, stay home as much as possible, wear a mask, don't do anything that would put others in harm's way. So thank you all, and have a good night.